This is Mr. Minnick. I am going to show you how to get started on a project that uses EditText objects in Android. So from my Android website, finding this happens to be Unit 6. I'm going to download this zip file of this demo called Fahrenheit Celsius Converter. So it's downloaded. I'm going to, off screen, I'm going to move it to my desktop and show you that on my desktop now, I have this zip file which I can right-click and open with Archive Utility here on this Macintosh computer. That unzipped it. Now I have this folder. Now just make a note that I have a folder with the necessary Eclipse project files in it. Don't mess with this stuff. It just is the way it has to be. So I have that nice little folder called Fahrenheit Celsius Converter. Now I slide over to Eclipse and I do a file import, which you can't see it up on my menu bar, but it's up there. File import. Import lets you go to Android and the existing Android code into Workspace. So I click Next. I browse to find that folder that's now on my desktop. So desktop, where the heck is it? Right here it is. And it's in here somewhere. Now, somebody named Goldberg said I should just do a magnifier search thing, which probably would work also. Here it is, I found it. I highlight that root folder and I click the little open button. And this would all work on a Windows computer too. So now, don't forget to checkmark copy project into Workspace. That's just a good thing to do. And I click Finish, and voila, it's here in my Workspace. Right here it is. Let's go look at the files that are that an Android developer would know to bother with. You go into your Java source code, and within there, Gavin Babb, who's paying attention, knows to go in to main activity and double click. And you look at the code, which you can learn from by following it. You might also want to go into your resources, RES, and specifically within there you might want to go into your values and double click the one called strings.xml. And one more file that's handy to have is the one called layout. It's called activity by default, activity_main.xml. So I have like 3 files that are now open up here in these tabs. I'm going to pause to take questions, and then we will proceed forward. Okay, well, as far as the layout goes, activity main XML, currently the way I teach this course is I don't think you should see this easy way of editing the interface. So let's click this XML source code view. And yeah, that's what you should be able to handle, because that is really what matters the most. And then the strings XML file, I don't like this easy way of doing it. So let's slide over to this tab and look at the text there. Good. And now back to the source code, which there is only one way of looking at it. So immediately you understand that in this Android development scheme of things, we separate the logical code, the back end, if you will, from the interface. And this is the interface, whether you like it or not. Yes, if you're weak, you would look at it graphically, which I need to zoom in here to make this look. I don't have enough screen space to really do it justice, but there is the program, all left aligned, kind of dorky, but that's it. No, I'd prefer to look at this view of code. Okay, let's run the program and hope it works. Do I have an emulator? Well, let's go check my Android Virtual Device Manager. I have something called Minnick Test AVD. It's currently running with API level 18. Let's check the project to see what API level this project is. I'm going to right-click on Fahrenheit Celsius Converter and go down to the properties. You can't see it, but I'm clicking on properties. I'm coming over here. This project is set for Android 4.3 API level 18. So there should be a match. My current emulator should work, Dylan, for this project. Everybody paying attention? Good. Alan, you okay too? Alan, first Alan in the room? Good. Let's run the program and see if this program executes. I'm clicking the little, with the source code brought forward and not the XML. Zach, does it make sense to try to execute XML? No. So we all go to the executable Java programming language source code, and we click the little triangle here, run. Okay, this first time only I have to say, hey compiler, I want it to run as an Android application. So I do that and I click OK. Now, hopefully 10 minutes from now or sooner, an emulator pops up and the program actually runs and lets me convert a Fahrenheit temperature to a Celsius. Wow, that was fast. I must be running this off of my hard drive and not off of some Windows remote virtual server, which is the case in this case. I'm running this off my hard drive. Like you could run it off your home computer if you installed Eclipse with all the Android SDK tools at home. Okay, it's still taking a while for this emulator to kick in and get to my home screen, so I'll just kind of, what happened to it? It's there somewhere. I have to find it on my, there it is. So let's just keep our eye on it, and while we're programming here in Eclipse, I'll just let it wake me up when I get to it. Now, back to Eclipse. Things that you should understand at this point in the course so that you can edit this project. Well, in the source code, we have these variables here. They're module level static class properties, without the keyword static though. I could have named them anything, but you have to use the right prefixes. I have this important onCreate method. I don't like my curly braces like this, Zach, so I'm just going to move my curly brace down there like I taught you last year. What else? I have a click listener that you'll read about in the lecture notes, or go to the Android website to learn more about click listeners. We had these in Visual Basic, and could have had these in Java last year. And I have this method called calculate that I wrote out myself. This is this is doing the grunt work. This is my emulator ready yet? No, it's still opening up. This is where a number that gets inputted into a text box, EditText I should say, gets converted to a number using the parse double method that comes out of the double wrapper class, W-R-A-P-P-E-R. We learned that in Java last year. And we had to call the getText method to pull the text out of the text box. Then we had to call the toString method. Oh, you remember toString methods. It's weird, but you would think that getText would return text, but holding my mouse over it, look, getText returns something called editable, a data type called editable, not string with a capital S. So you have to take the editable and do a .toString of that. Then with all of that in your hands, it can be assigned into, from right to left, this variable that I just made called degrees Fahrenheit. Now I could have called that X. It's just a little local variable that I made it a double so it can store decimal numbers. Okay, James, you okay so far? Yeah. Good. Now look at this line of code. Who can tell me why I put a decimal point there? I had to, by the way. If I didn't have the decimal point here or here in the 5 or the 9, things would have went wrong in this program. I'm going to pause and wait for somebody to answer this. Hey, Zach, so why do I need the decimal point?
Truncation.
Yeah. Okay, yes, Zach. He's having trouble today with his yes, integer division, also known as truncation. Take away the decimal points and see for yourself when you do get this running in an emulator. Now look at this next line of code. I'm calling the setText method to put the answer here, degrees Celsius, into the output text box. See, we have an input text box, txt Fahrenheit, and then a place for the final answer. Look at all this mess. I had to take the double and toString it to stringify it, like I used to teach in VB. That put quotes around the number. Yeah, stringify is not really a word, but it's my word in VB. I call it that. And that it just works. So we have proof of this once I get my emulator up. Okay, the emulator's up. This video might be less than a half an hour long. I have to unlock my emulator there. And okay, we got it. Okay, my cursor is blinking in TXT Fahrenheit right now. And I know that 32 degrees Fahrenheit should be 0. So I'm using an easy test case. Although it would be good style to create a test plan like you learned in VB Chapter 1 with Excel, a spreadsheet. And then on the AP exam, they did have some questions about test theory and preconditions and postconditions. We'll skip over all that. Let's just click convert and see if the answer is 0. Yes, and 0.0 with good accuracy. Now this is not something that will get an A on your next assignment. This is lame. It's left aligned. That has no color, no graphics. There are people, graphic designers, like in the row right in front of me right now, that would like cringe at handing something in like this. At least it doesn't say like activity 1 or main activity up here. This does have a nice app name and all that. But you can jazz this up a lot to get full credit, an A+ on this assignment. So that was one good test case. You can test this demo with plenty of other test cases. You can run this off your home computer where it'll be more responsive than perhaps using our Windows virtual server. Let's go take a look at the strings XML file right now to understand how the interface links together with the Java source code. In the strings XML file, this Fahrenheit Celsius converter app name attribute, also known as a property in XML, that can be whatever you want it to be. You can just call this John Doe's awesome converter. But be careful of illegal symbols, because that single quote might need to be escaped, like you did in Java for the AP exam. You had to use an escape sequence. But you can put spaces in there for app name. This right here is what showed up at the top of that activity window. So this could also be something like just converter. I don't know. Oh, this is what shows up, I believe, as the prompt message inside of the input text box. I put an underscore in there. I could have put some kind of tip like enter Fahrenheit here. But I just put an underscore. I could have put 5 underscores. The rest of these are self-explanatory. The caption for the buttons are properly placed here in XML. Now, if it's not saved, it doesn't execute correctly. So I'd have to know to save this XML. When I re-execute the project, it might not automatically save Alan L corresponding XML. Shh. Okay, let's take a look at activity main XML. This is your interface. This is where the EditText, the code, I called it the rated X code back in VB. I told you not to look at this stuff, because there we were allowed to drag and drop buttons and text boxes. Now we're not. We were supposed to look at this code. This is horribly, horribly picky. XML will really mess you up if you have like a space right here. Don't do that kind of stuff. And it doesn't squiggly underline all the time. Now you could do something like this, but this is bad style. Everybody look at this. Pick this button, for example, the convert button. If you were lazy and didn't care about reusability and good style, you would just put your caption right in here like convert. You would hard code a string right in there in the double quotes, which I think it works that way. But you shouldn't. You should use a variable in the string XML file and give it a name, so btn convert caption, which means that you have to go to the string XML file and find that name there, and then know that that's there. Because this allows you to have an English strings XML file, as well as a German one, a Japanese one, a Chinese one, and all the languages of the world, and it's much more reusable and professional if you, in your universal version of Flappy Bird perhaps, you have many string files down here for each different language. If you hardwire your Java source code, no, your XML I meant to say, with something in double quotes here, it works for like this classroom. And you might get by me for a grade because I might not bother to check this, but you should feel guilty because your code is not all it could be and extensible. And I probably will figure it out and take a point off. Okay, all that's explained in lecture notes, by the way. That was your quick walkthrough of the Fahrenheit Celsius converter in 2014. And will be help with the EditText project that will be assigned later.